Oh shit, we went live. What time of the day is it? Good
Right.
eve, good night to the East Coast. Good evening to the West Coast. Welcome to another episode of Amsterdam Talk. And tonight is something special. We got what we just say we gonna call this real estate investment 101.
Yeah.
I think that's what we said we was gonna call it. So we're talking about real estate, investing in yourself, breaking the curse, generational wealth. I have Stephanie Wilson Jones from Raleigh, North Carolina, correct?
Yeah. I'm in Raleigh.
And I have G James. Where you do your thing at G?
I come from the 252, but I'm in DC right now,
Okay, he does it in
DMV.
DC. So I guess the first question I would have to ask, how did you guys getting started in this?
Who you want to
Either
go
or.
first?
Well, you started speaking, so you can go first,
Okay.
Steph.
Well, yeah, again, my name is Stephanie Wilson Jones, and I'm a real estate broker in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I am licensed in the state of North Carolina. I started real estate about 5 years ago. I kind of just started, it was kind of a backup plan. Wanted something else to do, something different. I was working a full-time job at that moment. And I just wanted to try and find something different because I knew that's not what I wanted to keep doing. I didn't want to sit behind a desk and keep doing the 9 to 5 thing. So I kind of looked into the future and started working on that. And I had actually linked up with a couple people, and we were actually going to start a firm where I was going to be more of the realtor side, the face of it, I guess you can say. And the others were going to kind of be investors doing flips and stuff like that. So that's how I got started into the real estate game.
Okay. What about you, G? You gonna turn your camera on, brother? Or you doing something? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, I am a real estate investor, so I got started by wanting to diversify. I was thinking about legacy, or at least my legacy, and just wealth in general. And I had
Mm-hmm.
some cash, and I started talking to my network and saying, "This is what I want to do." And that is one of the examples of the power of having of one sharing your thoughts, sharing dreams, but also having some good people in the network. And I did some research, and someone in my network had a property, and we were able to close a deal for it. And that ignited something in me, so I started to go deep inside of the investing space, as far as learning, as far as teaching, and trying to get money in different ways. So yeah.
Okay. So, what would you say, like your first thing for somebody that's trying to do the same thing that you did? What would you like some steps, the keys that you would give them?
Um, Someone that's trying to get into investing, um, start learning. I would. There's a lot of first steps. I would go read something. I always say the easiest thing is to go to Google and type in whatever you want to know. So definitely do that. And in my coaching, I use the number 30 all the time. So applying it here, you would talk to 30 friends and say, "Hey, this is what I want to do. What advice would you give me?" So some of that advice is not going to be good, but some of that advice is going to be, "Hey, I know a realtor or someone in real estate named Stephanie. She's a good person to talk to about this. Somebody else is going to lead you in another direction, and just pursue those leads." So, and as far as the tangible things, save up some money,
Mhm.
get your credit together, and all of that stuff that I think we're going to talk about tonight too.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say that you definitely, I mean, and that would be on both the investment side and just regular real estate side. If you want to do something personally, just to buy your own home or whatever you're going to do, is you're going to have to start by speaking to a financial advisor, your lender, because they're going to tell you and kind of guide you on your first steps on what you're actually going to qualify for. Some know if you need to do it on a personal level, if you qualify to be able to get a secondary home. Or if you need to do it as a commercial, maybe your credit might not be where it needs to be, or your debt to income ratio is not where it needs to be to get that loan. So you need to go over to the credit side and maybe get a business credit card and finance it that way. way. So I always tell people to always speak to a lender first, so you can, set up your goals and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, because then that helps us, especially a realtor that does this stuff, on the real estate, the residential side and things like that. So we know which course to take with you. So that's my suggestion.
Okay. But one of the questions I had got earlier when I was putting this show together, and everybody really knows like the difference of like renting and owning, but it got to be something else that's like in there that's like no one knows about the difference between like owning and renting. Like, do you have something inside of that besides just this is mine and I'm paying somebody else? Do you have something else
I
that you
mean,
can add
it's
on?
not really a secret to it. I mean, it's like you said, it is something that is going to be yours. You're owning that. You're paying someone else's mortgage when you're renting a house. So, I mean, you can keep that equity for yourself. So, just being able to sell that house later, that's money that comes in your pocket. You don't get anything out the deal if it's a landlord. They're going to get the money. So that's one of the big keys. Of course, your tax deductions, because you can write your house, write off your interest on your house. So that's another thing. Of course, just having something that's yours that you can pass down. You can't, your rental, that's not yours. So there's nothing you can pass down to your children or anything, or whoever in your family that you can't, that's not something you can do for generational wealth. So, I mean, there's really no big secret behind it, in my opinion. I mean, it's just, you should want to own something so that you can be able to have that, like you said, about the generational wealth. If there's nothing to give, there's nothing for you to give. So,
Yeah, right. I get that, but like I see like the work I do within social work, when I see people, I mean, and people of color, they like, well, we don't own them things. We don't own situations like with houses and things like that. There's nothing passed down. But when I talk to our, the other side, when I talk to Caucasian people, they like, well, my family got a house, hard times, we just go there. So like, why do you think that's like that? Like I know for a fact, like co-family, my family members and people in my family didn't set up wills, so that
we
just
just
went
weren't we
away.
weren't we weren't taught to invest. We were taught to just save. We were just taught to put you some money to the side, put it in a shoebox, put it in a bank account, and save money, save. But we were never taught to actually own and invest in yourself. And I think that's where our issue lies with minorities, is that we just never were taught that, and now we're kind of late in the game. So just doing that just kind of helps your family. And then also, if people don't notice, I mean, I know in the Raleigh-Durham area, we have gentrification here, and that just means that people that used to live in the neighborhood that look like us don't live here anymore, because they're being bought out by people, by Caucasians and things like that. And not even just Caucasians. I mean, there's other races that have figured it out, come buy property, fix it, flip it, and now you selling it for more. And now you can't afford to live in your own neighborhood because now the property taxes have went up, the sales prices have went up. I mean, just so many things that you can't, like I said, you can't even afford to be in your own neighborhood anymore. So that's another reason why. I mean, they're gonna move you out if you don't, if you don't own your own neighborhood. They're gonna move you out of that neighborhood.
Okay, now speaking of G, that you did say you was in DC, so DC has been gentrified. There's no more chocolate city anymore. So as far as like when you go through your investing down there, like are you like getting things in DC or outside of DC?
Yeah. I haven't bought. So I have 6 units. So I'm still a pretty small investor as far as the buy and hold market is concerned. The last one I bought was in, I think, the end of 2018. So yeah, DC is expensive, and I like to, as far as my team, we have real conversation that you need some money to get in. There are a ton of ways that you can invest without money. That, to me, those are for sophisticated investors. The average person, and that's more so no money. You can invest with little money. I don't know anybody that's invested as far as buying and holding with no money. There are just some other ways that you can do it, but DC is super expensive. So I feel personally priced out currently. There are some people that come to the table, their bid is $1 million in cash. And it's hard to go against $1 million in cash with any type of loan, let alone being wanting a residence and having something from FHA or a product that takes a long time and it has a lot of regulation with it. So we just know that may not be the area, but DC, I'm actually in the DMV, so there are some other areas that are viable. In Maryland, Baltimore is very viable. So I like to talk about what's possible. My team definitely spends time on why the situation is what it is. We just spend more time on how do we get from here to the next stage. And if we can't buy in the richest parts of DC, it's possible to buy in some of the less cultured parts. And it is very possible. All of DC is not white. It's still chocolate in a lot of places. And there are still some opportunity zones.
Outside of what? Southeast?
North. Well, there's parts of Southwest that are not as expensive as the most expensive places, and definitely a ton of places in Northeast also. Both of my apartment buildings are in Northeast right now.
Okay, so you have apartment buildings. You did say units, so you have apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Small
okay,
ones.
I mean, small, big, or large, you have apartment buildings. So, so basically, what I want to so the starting process, I'm guessing. So, say someone comes with average credit, bad credit, no credit. How can we get to the next stage? So, what would you suggest that they do? Either one of y'all could take it.
Well, I guess, for me, I know when somebody comes to me, that's usually my first question is, have you spoke with a lender? Because I need to know where you're going to be financially. As a real estate agent, we really don't need to know per se your financial income. We don't need to know how much you make. I don't need to know your social security. Like, I don't need that much information. If you have like a bankruptcy, things like that, I might need to know that, of course, so that I can be able to direct you to somebody that can definitely handle your situation to try and make things work so you be able to qualify for a home. But it just depends. Like, when we start finding out that kind of stuff, like I might send them to a lender and they're like, hey, they have some student loans or they have some credit issues, then that we might have to take you to a credit restoration specialist and let you get your credit build up and get it to the qualifying numbers that you need. I think for FHA, it's around 640 and conventional 680. Down here in North Carolina, we have USDA, and that's a government funded, in VA. So you have to qualify for those, which are 0% down payment for those. But that's the first stepping stone that I go with. That's how I do things. And so you can be able to know exactly what your buying power is going to be. So depending on what your credit score is, if you're ready to go, then that's when I would really step in. And that's when we start talking about looking and things like that. Because usually I don't take anybody out before I know. I mean, because that's just a waste of time for myself and for you. I'd hate for you to take you to go look at houses and we don't even know how much you qualify for. You fall into love with a house that's $400,000, $300,000, and you can only afford $250. Now your feelings are hurt because you've been looking at this house and you're like, oh, I love that. But now you got to, dumb it down a little bit and water it down. And now you're like, I don't even like these. So, I mean, it just helps me.
Wasted Stephanie Saturday afternoon. So
I don't like wasting gas because I don't know. And then, I mean, that's just part of the home buyer seminar. Also, when you work with a buyer's agent, when you're on the buyer's side, the buyer does not pay our commission, the seller does. So if we're just driving you around, we're just, driving you around. But if we know that you're qualified and ready to go, it makes things a lot easier for agents. So if an agent asks you that, they're not trying to be funny or trying to be offensive, but that's just so we don't waste each other's time. We need to go ahead and get those steps done first before we can actually start looking at homes.
Okay, so you mentioned. Go ahead, G. Go ahead. I'll ask after this.
I'll add. I support everything she said. Don't want to waste people's time, and that's how some of us get moved to the front because we come already ready with the loan approved, or we just come in with cash. I like to talk about buying stuff in cash because they're gonna want to work with me quicker than someone else who's going through NACA. And those are cool programs if that's where you are.
Yeah.
But there is a hierarchy, and I want to get whatever the hierarchy is, whatever the game is, I'm trying to get to the front. That's how my team lives. That's how we breathe. And I
just want to say now, I'll work with you regardless because, every seed has to be watered and it grows. So, there's potential. Right now, you might not be ready to qualify, but in 6 months, you'll be ready and I'll still be ready. And I do my follow-ups and stuff like that. So that's not to say that, we won't work with you. It's just like you said, it helps us prioritize who we need to work with first, because if we have somebody that's already qualified, of course, we need to go ahead and get them to find something, but we're still going to work with you in the back end to make sure that you get where you need to be. And especially my team, that's what we do. We do credit counseling to try and help you if you need that. Lenders help you if you're not quite there yet. Debt to income, they might tell you what you need to pay down on the credit card or whatever you need to do to get you ready. So when you're ready to qualify in 3 months or something like that, then we're ready for you. But I understand what he's saying though about the hierarchy, but we still will work with you. So don't feel like you need to be turned off or it's a deterrent that we're not going to work with you. We absolutely will. We just, just got to do things a little bit differently compared to a person that's already ready to buy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's a good point.
So speaking that you said, G, you like to go with straight cash money. And so I guess that trumps everything. When you walk in there and you have whatever you have and say, I have this right now.
It will trump a lot of stuff. I think relationships still matter. Teams still matter. Finding good deals matter. So there's a lot of variables there. Once you become sophisticated, you can then come with the cash offer and still work it through a loan, as long as your loan team can move very, very quickly. So we're looking at a couple of deals right now that we would probably acquire initially with cash, and then identify what's the best long-term vehicle for us. Yeah.
So what's the cash? Like you're saying you're buying
so
with
I think
cash.
that's,
So I'm not familiar with the market up there. So what would be considered a cash? Like, are you talking 50,000, 100,000?
No. Well, possibly in Baltimore, maybe. But I think, like I just said, we feel priced out because we're not going to put $1 million down in cash. And that's what some people are doing here. It would be 200, 600,000. Right now, I'm looking at some stuff in North Carolina that are less than like 150.
I was about to say, are you looking at like units like quads and duplexes, or are you looking at actual single family homes? I think we need to distinguish between the two.
Yes, and that's the point that I was about to make. You can't even be on my team and want to buy a single family without running an analysis through us on why that's a good deal for you. So it's good to have you up here because you have a different perspective. We are at a different pace, and just on the investing, we can work with new investors, but my business is not in single families solely. So people who do single families that are in my circle and that want my blessing have to do an analysis to ensure that it's a good deal for them. Yeah.
Okay. But I see you say everything. Now you just said, you have to do analysis through your team, G. Has anybody ever just decided to just go rogue and just no, I'm just going to do this on my own?
You can't go rogue and stay on the team though. So
I understand that.
It's possible there have been some great deals made in single family homes. Our position right now in March 2021 is that it's just not a good deal for most people. So because it's a good deal for some people, we have to make sure that it's a good deal for this specific person based on their situation, their individual situation, and their goals also. The emotional part of buying a home is so strong that a lot of us have lost money, and that's not what we want to do. So yeah, some folks don't want to do the work, and to me, that's life. But that's why we say, as for me and my house, we have a certain program that we run through, and there are a lot of other programs out there that people can attach themselves to, or they can just work and they'll do their own thing. Yeah.
So what are these programs?
Program I meant, there is a structure that my team has.
Okay.
But as far as programs, I was just talking to a family member who was like, hey, I have $30,000 in cash. I'm trying to buy a home. I don't have good credit. Tell me all your suggestions. What that person needed is not something that I would be willing to give her as far as that guidance. So I said, hey, there's a program called NACA that will sit you down. They will hold your hand. They will walk you through all of those steps. Stephanie said, go talk to a lender. Those are people who will walk you through those steps and let you know everything that you need. If you have bad credit, they will say, this is what you do in order to get to the next level, to take your credit to where it needs to be. That's just not what my team does.
Okay.
I'm laughing. Don't think I'm laughing at you because I'm from the South, so we say NACA down here. So you're saying
NACA, yeah. So I think Stephanie's a little bit better to kind of talk about the surplus of programs. And before you start, Stephanie, Rod, there's so much money for first-time home buyers.
That's what I was getting ready to get to.
You don't have to be a true first-time home buyer, but there are a lot of programs. So one of the things that I have folks in my circle do, hey, I want to buy a house. Okay, cool. Show me all the programs that are in your area or within a 50-mile radius, so that we can at least have a list, and then we can start going through to understand which ones you qualify for, which ones are best for you. Maryland has a program. There was a program in DC that was given up to I feel like it was like 80,000 in like closing costs, which was it was such a crazy number a few years back. But there's a ton of money out here for buyers. Over.
Okay. So, he touched on, the DMV area. So what about the programs down in North Carolina, Stephanie?
I mean, we kind of have programs too, like depending on if you're in the Wake County area, which is Raleigh's county, Wake County, Durham County. They have different specific programs that help with down payment assistance, where you can maybe qualify for 20,000, 30,000, up to 50. They're, depending on certain programs where you can get grants. And just even with our credit unions down here, you might be able to get 2,500 towards closing costs. I mean, that might not sound like a whole lot, but I mean, it's still something in the bucket to help you with first-time home buyers and things like that. But because of all the regulations and stuff with interest rates and all that stuff, a lot of down payment assistance programs have kind of fell back a little bit because lenders are kind of the risk of, this with the market right now, how things are. So now they're starting to revamp more, getting back into the first time home buyers programs and things like that to kind of help assist with that. But yeah, I mean, but then that's when you, of course, talk to your lender, and that's when they're going to give you, they might have stuff for you too, depending on if you do new construction. If you work with their preferred lender and their attorney, they might give you 6,000 closing costs, 10,000. So it just depends on which route you go. And there's always something to be able to be worked out usually.
Okay. So what would you say, like, for the last year, is this like a buyer's market or a seller's market than what happened with the whole pandemic from March to March?
Well, I know I'm speaking for the Raleigh-Durham area and more or less North Carolina. I know Charlotte's the same way, Greensboro. This is definitely a seller's market down here. And what I mean by that is that inventory is very low. So there are not a lot of houses on the market, but there's still a high demand of buyers. So, I mean, like right now, you have, I'll just say, law economics, is, high demand, low supply is going to be a seller's market. So that just means that you're still able to buy. it's just going to be very competitive. It's a very competitive market down here. A lot of people had to put more money up front to try and win these deals, to go into bidding wars. A lot of houses are having bidding wars. Houses are closing in a day here. Some houses are being sold sight unseen. I mean, it's been really, really brutal. Even new construction is starting to get tight with the new construction market. Builders are trying to build as fast as they can. But you know, they are now, I know some builders down here are only selling 5 houses at a month at a time. Just so they can be able to keep up with the demand, make sure that they're not over promising anybody, making sure they can keep materials coming in, and things like that, because that price is going up as well. So, you know, with that being said, you know, sellers are making a lot more money on their houses because they're getting over asking price. So it's not taboo now to make a deal for a buyer. So you're not gonna come down here and try and go under, because if you go under, you're not even gonna get acknowledged. Your offer is gonna get thrown to the side real quick. And I mean, I think that just happened just because I know for our area, Raleigh Durham, it has a lot of course, we have a lot of colleges here. We have Research Triangle Park area. We have a lot of technology. We have a lot of hospitals here. So we always have a lot of jobs and people that are still coming into this area and still moving here regardless of what's going on with the pandemic. So luckily we're kind of, I'm not gonna say we're recession proof, but we're kind of close to it because of the fact that we have so much access to so much things down here. So I don't know necessarily in DC, but I definitely know down here it's a seller's market.
Okay, before I get to UG on that, I want to ask her this about the overpricing. So how would you feel if somebody came to you like about the overpricing? I mean, I understand it's supply and demand. You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
But what would you advise somebody on that? Like,
well, for when my people, when we go in to do an offer, we make sure that we're not outbidding ourselves, because the house has to still appraise. And that just means that the bank still has to say that house is worth what you're going to go for. So if we look at a house that's $200,000 and I do comps on it and I see only houses sold in that neighborhood are no more than 210, 215, we're not going to go in at like 250, because that house is not going to appraise. And then either my buyer is going to have to make up that difference, because more than likely the seller's not going to come down on that price. They're going to make you stand on that 250 that you offered them. So if you work with the right realtor, they should know to make sure they do your comps, to make sure that when they put this offer in, it makes sense. Because of course you got to protect your buyer, you know, you need to advise them and guide them. I mean, of course we have to do what we're told, but for the most part, I make sure that I do my homework to say, okay, yeah, you want to go in at this price, but we shouldn't go this high, or we might need to go up to this point, because some people want to maybe stay under, I only want to do 205. And I'm like, I wouldn't suggest that, because it's not going to be strong enough. I've looked at the comps. Houses are selling around 210. So maybe you should go at 209, 299, you know, just to try and get them closer to what could be competitive in this market, to give them a chance to win that bid.
now is it a possibility what we seen in 06 is there's a possibility another housing market crash like we seen 15 years ago?
I personally don't think it's going to happen, not here. And I just say that because of the things that I said. We're just kind of recession proof right now, to where people are still having jobs. There's still plenty of jobs out there in this area. There's a moratorium right now where people that have done like the forbearances and deferred their payments, like they're not having to pay their money back yet. But it's going to happen, and it's going to hurt some people, definitely financially. So hopefully y'all holding on to these stimulus checks that came in, because you're going to have to pay that money back eventually. But I really don't see an actual crash in the market. I mean, I think it's going to take a little hit when, you know, those foreclosures, there are going to be some foreclosures that hit, because some people are just not going to be able to afford what they have. But I don't see a crash happening in this market in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Okay. What about you, G?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of that. So I don't know if crash is a technical term. So I haven't done enough research to say crash, but do I think that it will turn to a buyer's market? Yeah, absolutely. I think, as Stephanie said, we are still under the moratoriums. There's a lot of folks that don't have jobs. Everybody has a friend or a couple of friends that bought in 2020. There's a lot of nice, shiny condos definitely out here. Condos are going I think my homie just bought one for like 360, 2 level, two bedroom maybe. It's very nice. It's also very expensive. And the way our culture is, from my limited experience, we like shiny things, and when it stops being shiny, we are looking at something else. So I think it's going to be a gallimaufry of events that lead to that turn. And
But the cost of living up there is a whole lot different from down here.
Which is true.
Yeah. So I mean, I only speak for what I can see.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, I'm doing some research right now in the 252 area. I wish I had more jobs like Raleigh Durham, but I think that's how it always works.
We're in 252. You keep saying 252. Where are you talking about? Rocky Mount, Wilson?
Greenville-ish.
Okay.
But Rocky Mount too. We always want more money in the area, and we want the housing to stay low, and it just doesn't work that way. So what we're doing is we're holding some money. I actually don't know when that's going to happen, brother, but I think I just don't see people staying in homes long. Outside is going to open. The moratorium is going to end. Folks are going to want to do more things as far as living in different places. And then they're going to realize that not changing a filter is going to cost you $2,000 when your HVAC messes up, right? And there's a lot of preparation that I have just personally seen that folks have not been doing. So as an investor, it means good things for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, on the other side, it does. Yeah.
And that's how I frame it. When I'm talking to my family member, I'm like, that's why, as I said earlier, you need to do an analysis, because we're going to talk about what is the life cycle cost. So what is the total cost of owning, which includes that mortgage. Mortgage is just not rent, right? It includes those taxes, and it also includes that maintenance and what you plan to do for the maintenance. So there are some great ways to buy homes and single families and condos too, right? Which I'm super against condos, kind of. But there are just so many of us, definitely us, who are buying that are not buying right. Over.
So why are you against condos? Because I know somebody's going to ask that in the comments in a minute. Why are you against condos?
Yeah, it just doesn't work for what we're doing. And I've seen condos have people lose more money than just as a whole than gain. Condos are, it's a lot of, I don't know the word. It's not like paperwork, but it's a community. It's like a glorified apartment. You can't make your own decisions. You can't write off the other, condo fee. And they just don't make money the way that the other homes do. So even from a landlord perspective, they may work a little bit better in the city, or like in cities like here. And there are some condo communities that are slamming. There are just some that are super trashy. Condo fees are $400 or $700, right? And they are just not a great deal here.
Do you do rentals or do you do flips?
About $400. I am buy and hold, so rentals.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if I was in the flipping, then that's a completely different conversation, because I don't care what happens once I leave. That's not how it should be, but that's how some of the mentality is. I need to make it as shiny as possible and sell you the dream. The more emotional you are, the better. The more you're gonna come with a realtor and bid more than what I have for asking. But no, I'm not in the. I don't have experience in that space.
Okay. So you said something that I was getting ready to get. Oh, well, like you said, Steph, that we up here is definitely, the cost of living is definitely different because we have one of the richest Black counties in America up here, Montgomery County, and then that little area of DC and Northern Virginia is just out of this world, to live in. So it is definitely different than, coming down to, I guess the medium point would be like the Richmond area and, down in Wake County. My people are from Henderson. So is a special part of Henderson they was telling me about where there's a lot of rich people live, but a lot of wealthy people that live in Henderson. I haven't been there. I just went to the gas station and got out of there. But so I see that sometimes I follow you stuff. So I do see sometimes the house is already there. And it was just one particular house that you were doing last week. I think they're building from the ground. So like, what is there a difference from, is it like just buying the land or just buying a house? Maybe I'm saying this wrong. Is there a different strategy you go to when there's somebody that wants their house built versus one that already built?
Well, yeah, because then you would have to buy, you'd have to do a land purchase and then build on top of that land. I do more on the side that I have more experience with, I'll say, with working with actual builders and going there and the lots already are bought and you just have to pay a lot premium or whatever the case may be. And then you buy your house and it just is built from the ground up from that point. So I think that, I hope I'm answering your question, but yeah, there are two different processes. There's some people that would be like, yeah, I want to live further out and I just want to buy some land and I'll just get a custom builder and have them come in and build a house on that land. Or you can actually go to an actual established community that is whoever, Syntex, DR Horton, McKee Homes, LGI, whoever the builder is, and you just go to that community and buy in that community.
Okay. All right. So I'm seeing this over here. So I guess this is it'd be your part since you invest in G. They were talking about repossessions and foreclosures. So is that something that that you would look forward to?
And before we move there, I echo what Stephanie said. Don't be out here not knowing what you're doing, trying to go buy some land and with a dream of putting a house on it. Because it is a lot of work that you have to do. Not impossible at all, but it's work. So if you're down for the work, then get it in. But
yeah, you have to make sure that the land perks, and that means that you have a septic, that there's able to be sewage, there has to be able to electricity can be ran out there, you have cable, you have all the electricity you need, all that stuff. So it's definitely a lot of steps when you start trying to buy just land outright. You need to make sure that it's already sewer ready, septic ready, whatever the case may be. Yeah,
man. So I'm not sure what you mean by repossessions, but the foreclosures.
They're talking about repossessions, bankruptcies, and foreclosures.
Got it. Is that a strategy that people use? Yes. It is, to me, one of the more sophisticated ones. Okay. So I say sophisticated, just you got to learn, and I would hatch up with a mentor first. This is my general advice, and I don't normally give general advice because just because I don't have to. I give advice to my team, and that's why it's very pointed. So sometimes I'd like to make sure that new people aren't in the room, because when I say don't buy a condo, don't buy anything this year in 2021, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, right? Because that's not advice for everybody. It's advice for my team. But there's a lot of money in foreclosures. I won't go through the intricacies of it, but foreclosure buying is a waiting game, and it is a game with people who have cash. You may say, look, there's a foreclosure on Saturday. We're going to bid on 5 of them. We're going to put $10,000 down each. All 5 of them are not going to turn up anything. Then we're going to come back and do 5, and then maybe 1 after 6 months or 18 months, depending on where you are and how that works. One of the things, I think I would wrap tax liens in that. I was just having a tax lien conversation, and some people just don't pay tax liens or their taxes on time. So one of the things that you do is you do the research and say, for the past 10 years, has this owner been a habitual late taxpayer. So
Right.
sometimes it can get all the way to the tax lien and to the courthouse, and then you're in your waiting period, and like that last week or last 30 days, they come and paid in full, and then you've now tied your money up for 7 months. You know, so there are some, because there are so many nuances into being successful. It is a strategy that you have to learn in order to get there. Yeah.
I was about to say, I
So let me
think,
know
I
if I
think,
spoke to it well.
I mean, I think leaning towards what I think when it comes to foreclosures and short sales and all that kind of stuff, everybody wants a deal. That's a given. But those things don't come easy. And I guess that's kind of what he was getting towards too, is that, I have people that always reach me like, yeah, I want a foreclosure. I want houses that are foreclosure or short sale. And I hear you, but those are very hard to get. And it's more or less not even the fact that, it's just a lot of stuff is done behind doors. A lot of stuff is off market. So sometimes I might not find out something until after the deal is done. I might look into my system and I might see it, but it might be too late because there might have already been a backdoor deal that happened already. So mainly a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. You have to have a lot of connections, a lot of network. I mean, for me, I've talked to investors, I talked to wholesalers and people like that, just so I can start getting in the loop of knowing, hey, this house might be getting ready to hit the market, so that I know how to move accordingly to let my people know that are investors, like, hey, I caught wind that this house might be hitting the market or whatever the case may be. So for people that are interested in just strictly foreclosures, you really need to network and find investors like G and things like that, because they're going to know more than maybe a realtor does, because that's his world. He talks to people all the time. So he knows more of, oh, somebody's getting ready to put this house, or they've been flipping this house and they're going to do this, or this house is, back in, they know that house is foreclosing or short selling or about to be auctioned off or things like that. So, I mean, if the person is interested in that, realtors can help, but it's definitely, you just need to really do network so that you can be able to know what's coming.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's why earlier I said that cash isn't the only thing. It is absolutely about relationships. When I bought the 4-unit and I talked to my friends, we already had a negotiation before it hit Redfin. So by the time it hit Redfin,
that's more formalities.
I think I was already right. He was like, look, in case something happened, we're just gonna put it up there anyway. But I already had the contract, and somebody could have came with cash, but it wouldn't have mattered. So one of the old, I guess it's old school tips, is those signs that you see that says buy cash, we'll buy your house right now, that you see at the stop sign. Those are many times wholesalers. Wholesalers are out here doing the work and hitting the pavement. So I'll call the number and say, put me on your buyers list. So when you get a gem, call me first, and I'll make sure that he knows I have money and I'm not just somebody who's interested in it. Because there's a difference from folks who are interested and then folks who are invested. I make sure he knows I have money and that I'm ready to go. My realtor, for realtors, there's a process where you ask them questions and make sure that, one, they know what they're doing, that the loan officer knows what they're doing, and that they are a good fit for you. The same way they're going to be asking you questions, like Stephanie said in the beginning. Where's your approval letter? Where's your where's your qualification? And a qualification, some realtors are still not going to work with you. They want you to be approved, and they want to have a conversation because they do a lot of work, so they want their work to be rewarded also. Yes.
I get you. So this will definitely have to be a question that needs to be asked. I know you said earlier about credit, and the group that we're in, not everybody went to school on scholarship. Not everybody paid their loans off. So what happens when the actual lender sees $100,000, $150,000 owed to, I guess, Sally Mae. We're just gonna say Sally Mae. What happens then?
It depends on what your status is and what kind of repayment plan you're on. Some are doing 1% of the loan, depending on what type of loan you're trying to qualify for. Some of them do just based off of your actual payments. So definitely, I always try and get my people, if you're in deferment, you might want to get off of that and start trying to pay it. I mean, it always just looks good, always. I mean, you're paying your bill, so of course it helps your credit. People that have these high student loan amounts and things like that, that has been an issue for us, you know, and I've dealt with that. And I have a young lady that I work with here in the Raleigh-Durham area that kind of helps people with student loan issues to try and get them in a better standing, so where they might need to change their repayment plan and come off of the like maybe they're just in a standard plan where they might need to go income based or switch from income based because it's way too low and go to another plan so they can pay more money to that loan. Some people like to defer. Sometimes that deferment can bite you back, because if you defer or default, you know,
Right.
then you're stuck, because then now you have to pay because you've defaulted too many times. And they're like, no, you know, when they run you through the federal system and they see that you have this loan and you're trying to get a federal loan, they might be like, no, she hadn't even paid this. So that might bump heads, you know. So, I mean, it's just definitely, you know, I always just say, please pay your bill. You know, if you can, do what you can, try and speak to those people. I mean, because they're going to try and help you as much as they can as well. I mean, it's just us that kind of, you know, unfortunately don't want to pay that bill and just want to keep pushing it and sweep it under the rug and I'll deal with it later. And then when it's time to buy a house, it's coming back to bite you in the butt. So I definitely would suggest to just be careful, talk to your lender, talk to a financial specialist, and talk to student loans and just ask them, can I, you know, how can I repay this off? How can I pay it off quicker? Can I get a discount? You know, because they're, like I said, they're there to help. You just got to, you know, reach out. Most people that have issues are the ones that don't want to answer their phone calls or respond to their messages, and they ignore when they reach out to try and make y'all pay. And it's like, nah, I ain't ready. So that's my suggestion.
What you about to say, G?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Just go talk to somebody. You know what I mean?
I mean, we just don't, we don't ask questions. We think we know just because your cousin told you something. Okay, that's cool, but actually talk to a professional or expert in that field. Don't
That's
just go
why I
by
got
what
y'all
you
here.
heard from this person. No, I'm just saying, like, everybody's situations are different. You can reach out to me and be like, man, I got this, but you don't know what my situation is compared to yours, you know? So, you know, I'm telling you what my experience is, but your experience might be a whole lot different. You just need to call and talk to somebody to actually get the right information. You know what I mean?
Trust and believe me.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I just went out here just nilly-willy and said, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Not without talking to nobody. I lost out on a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I have a home, but I lost out on a lot of money. I wish I could redo it again, but hey, what's done is done. 5 years in past.
Yeah.
But on that, 5 years in past, there's nothing I can do now. It's not like I can just say, yo, can I have my money back? They got the money, the money's gone. I miss it. But hey, so what I wanted to say, because I know y'all both sides of the spectrum. So I want to hear like one of the most heartwarming stories you had, Steph, or working with somebody. And I want to hear one of your hardest negotiations, G. Who want to go first?
I'll let G go first. I gotta think.
So got it. I don't have a hard negotiation. I'll tell you what I wrestle with often. And I came up 252 Eastern Carolina on all the systems. I came up on WIC and food stamps and everything. And I moved around a lot because I had a humble beginning, right? That means I was poor. Okay. So we moved a lot because by the time you couldn't pay rent no more, income tax time came and you could put a payment down on something else, right? So that was our cycle. So I know what it's like to be in public housing and just to have. And now I'm on the other side. I have been able to be an advocate for affordable housing at the Capitol. We've helped to write some laws. We've done some housing training, and now I am an owner. So that is it's very dear to me. What I wrestle with.
Do you take vouchers? Well, I don't mean cut you up, but do you take vouchers?
Yeah. I have one resident right now of my 6 that is on a voucher, or uses a voucher to pay. And the wrestling is I understand what it's like because that is my background. But I know from my experience, and it's been less than a year, but if I could turn back the hands of time, as they say, and then the experience of those around me, that it's not always prudent financially to go the voucher route, at least for us in the business that we're doing. And then I'm also in DC, where the neighbor the neighbor in the next building, his rent was $600. And one increase, it went to $900. And he knew it was going to $1,200 the next time. So in 2 years, his rent goes from $600 to $1,200, and that $1,200 is still way below what everybody else is paying on the street, or at least most. So it's and then understanding that some of the gentrification that we hate is been done by us too. So that's why when the way we understand gentrification is just, we understand it as change, at least my team. And then the way that change happens, and being able to revitalize an area without displacing people, is the change that we wanted to give. But we understand at the same time that there's so much money happening. And how do I care about the community, care about my family, care about myself, because I still want to go on vacation too, and then care about the generations to come that come from me, and put all of that in the same bowl and in a way that it works. And that's something that I'm consistently wrestling with as an investor.
Okay. Yep. Got you.
I think for me, I mean, heartwarming. I mean, overall, I mean, just to say, doing this, I love doing the real estate thing because I'm helping people. It's not just about, you know, it's not just about the closing deals and stuff. It's just actually really helping people to get ownership in something and having something that's their own. Everybody wants that dream of buying their own home and you know, doing that. And for me to be able to help with that process is just fulfilling in itself. I mean, I help a lot of, you know, minorities and things like that. I definitely help a lot of Black women. And that makes me feel good because a lot of times, you know, they might be in a situation where they had to pull the bootstraps up and, you know, do it on their own. You know, some of them, I've had a lady where she had kids and things like that. And she was just in a situation where she just wanted better. And so, you know, it's fulfilling when you're on the closing table and you see her start, you know, tearing up because she's proud of herself, you know, just being a part of that, to be able to say, I helped this woman do something, a goal that she wanted to achieve. I mean, most people are always saying, I want to buy a house. My goal, I'm gonna buy a house. I'm helping people make that dream come true. So that just makes me happy in itself, and just, you know, serving other people and helping them to acquire that dream has always been something good for me. And I enjoy it.
Yeah, Rod, and there's my favorite tenant right now. Her name's T. She's been there maybe 3 years, 3.5. When she came, she was kind of discombobulated. She immediately went into, look, my credit ain't that good. It was messed up. I went through some stuff. And then she went to the solution. I'm working through this program. You can call them. I'm working with them. I love them. They love me. And I gave her a chance, and she's been there for 3 years. Absolutely my favorite. I just saw her yesterday, going to check something out. But there are some those opportunities, those instances where we can take a chance on people, and then definitely folks that look like us. Yeah. And at one point, she was the only person in the building that looked like me. She was the only sister. And unfortunately, the flip side is that the people who have burnt me, who have broken the lease, who have left the lease and say, hey, it's Monday, I'm leaving on Friday. Here's your key, or didn't clean up, messed up. They look just like you. They look just like me. And that's part of that internal challenge. The other folks have been pleasant in my experience, and I want to do for my folks. So that is a story that touches me, as well as some stuff that doesn't touch me so much.
I mean, it's just always good to help those that want to help themselves and empower themselves. I mean, it's just, you know, we're all trying to just do better, and everybody needs a chance. And of course, like the young lady I was talking about, Unfortunately, like you had mentioned earlier, she did reach out to lenders before. I mean, realtors before, and they kind of brushed her to the side. She wasn't ready to qualify. She had credit issues. She had this, and she needed work. I mean, sometimes you're not going to get a client that's ready, and that's okay. And I pride myself on making sure I let it be known that I'm okay with helping you from the beginning to the end. If it takes a while, it just takes a while. That's just what we're going to have to deal. But I mean, it helps when you're willing to help, and it speaks volumes, because then of course, for me, she's going to tell the next person, like, man, she really helped me out. She got me a credit person. She helped me from this point to this point to this point and got me there. And that word of mouth helps with referrals, and people start knowing, like, oh, okay, she a good one. She doesn't just leave you hanging. She's just not worried about, oh, you're not qualified. She ain't gonna do nothing with you. And that's very important too, that we all just need to, kind of help each other out.
Gotcha. Somebody said, what do you know about land banking?
Nothing.
I know not personally, land banking. I'm not sure what they really mean by land banking, unless they're just saying buying land and holding on to it, because of course there's no more land is really, something that's really hard to come across. So if you find a good piece of land, I would definitely, tell you to try and acquire that however you can and hold on to it, because eventually somebody might want to buy it from you, or you can, do something with it yourself. But more than likely, I know around here, builders are trying to find land any and everywhere to put some houses on. So I mean, I know people are starting to go out into the country. I know you're familiar with the 252. So I know you're familiar with like Zebulon, going towards Rocky Mount, out that way. People are acquiring land out there. That people used to even live out there. That was like the sticks. Now it's part of the suburbs of Raleigh.
Somebody put a lot of mobile homes.
You can do that. I mean, yeah, there's always possibilities and things. I mean, I've even thought about buying land and just holding on to it. I mean, you can cemetery plots. I mean, you can think of so many different things that you can do, that you wouldn't even think of. I mean, unfortunately, people die every day. You got to put them somewhere, I mean, there's just so many ideas. And like you said, mobile homes, if you want to do mobile home communities, there's a lot of, and I don't know if you do, G probably doesn't do it up there, but I know down here, people are buying mobile homes and flipping them and redoing them, cleaning them up and everything, and reselling them or renting them out, because that's the market we have down here, where you have people that still buy mobile homes and manufacture homes, or however they want to call them. So.
Okay, I think this question for you, G. How long does it take to buy a school? Should we invest as a collective? And what are the signs of a scammer?
Yeah, I saw that question, and I don't have any comment for it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as we buy a school. Well, I mean,
just a community effort. I mean, I guess for that person, they just need to do some research, reach out, and just start asking questions. Go on Facebook. I mean, there's so many resources out there. Put it out there. Be like, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing XYZ. Does anybody know how to do this? Has anybody ever done this? I mean, you never know who knows what, who knows who, So I would just suggest maybe throwing it out there and seeing who might know something. On that, I don't know anything about that, but I mean, you got to ask. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. See, and like you said, he said he wants to get down in North Carolina and buy some, so y'all can establish your relationship together.
I have a lot of people that want to come from the DC area down here all the time when they see how much a house costs down here compared to up there.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. It's like the further you go down, the more you get.
Yeah.
If I could find a certain job, man, I think my time would be done.
Done. But it's 10 o'clock, man. That's my time. I wanted to go to Clubhouse after this, but I figured y'all probably had something to do after this. So I was like, I'll leave Clubhouse alone today. So, because I know you're always busy. So I know you always kicking the keyboard. So if y'all have any questions to ask about more, retail investments, real estate investments, or buying houses, where can they find you guys at?
Well,
besides
I
the
guess I'll
group?
start first. Of course, if you want to do buy or sell, I do buy and sell. I just don't buy, help buyers. I help with sellers as well to put your house on the market. So if you're interested in that, you can find me on Facebook. My personal page is, Stephanie Wilson Jones, or at Buy Sell with Stephanie. That's my business page. On IG is SWJ Realty. And I can also provide that information to you, Rod. So if anybody wants to contact me directly to my phone or to my email, I can give you that information as well.
Okay. What about you, G?
Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, G Thinks. I'm always talking. I love wealth conversations and generational wealth. So that's what my team is learning and going through that process right now. So I'm always down to chat about it. I don't do She Thinks IG. That works.
That's my time this week. We're realizing and we're investing. Next week, I see y'all with, damn, why can't I never get this lady name right? Dr. Sheabon Jones Smith and Dr. Armand Perry when we speak on gender wars next week. So I see y'all next Wednesday, same time, 9:00, same place. If not, you can check out the podcast because this will probably be on the podcast probably by Friday. Clean it up a little bit. And that is at Amsterdam Talk on all streaming services. So next week, see you with Gender Wars. I don't think anything else is this week with the network. I'm not sure. But if
Rob,
I'm wrong,
before we go, I just want to say thank you to you and the team for having us tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate you giving us a vessel to be able to talk about this and try and help people as much as we can. So I definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Man, this is my house, but y'all always welcome. Y'all always welcome to come back. I'm kind of like, it was some prior engagement because I had a guy from California coming from San Diego, but he had a last minute thing he had to do when it was time to go. So I'm like, I understand. So, I'm just trying to get all four quadrants of the United States to be like, here we go. This is what's over here. Because, Maryland, they're selling for what they selling. North Carolina selling what they selling. Excuse me. Then California is definitely something different. Then New York is something different. So,
yeah.
And we got people that went to all 107 HBCUs in this group that's definitely going to, probably buy something, whether it's in Greensboro, where you're located, Princess Anne, where I was located.
I just want to shout out, because I didn't go to the school in Greensboro. I want to shout out to all my Eagles, North Carolina Central University. Shout out to all my Eagles, Eagle Pride Amplified, class of 2004. And to my sorors, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Ooh.
Oh, anybody you want to shout? They're yelling that out there as well. No, now they're talking to A&T over there in the chat.
Fayetteville State don't get into the Fayetteville State stays above the fray, so you normally just let people do their calls and whatever. It's cool. It's cute.
Somebody said we need to buy land to grow weed on. All right, that's my time. I'll see y'all next week.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You're welcome.